الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين والعاقبة للمتقين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى ربنا زدنا علما آمين. So inshallah we'll do juz number 15 today, and we will come towards the middle of the Quran in Surah Al-Kahf, right smack in the middle of the Quran, inshallah. We'll begin with Surah Al-Isra. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi laylan min al-masjid al-haram laylan min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياتنا إنه هو السميع البصير. Exalted is he who took his servant Prophet Muhammad ﷺ by night from Al-Masjid Al-Haram to Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, whose surroundings we have blessed, to show him of our signs. Indeed, he is the hearing, the all-seeing. So Surah Al-Isra talks about one of a very major incidences in the life of Rasulullah ﷺ. Oh, Hania is not with you today?
I saw her.
Okay.
I'm taking care of her.
Oh, okay. That's fine. So, but otherwise, I was saying this is the room where you can, whoever has a baby, that this is the first one, whoever wants to. And the bathroom is on this side, whoever wants to use it. Okay. So, we just began Surah Al-Isra, and Surah Al-Isra talks about a very important incident in the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and this is when he had gotten back from Taif. If you know the incident of the city of Taif where he went to. Okay, so when Meccans were not responding back to him, they completely denied him and whatever they could do to oppose him and his followers. So he went to Taif, another city close to Mecca, and he went there to give them the message. And the people's reaction there were worse, because in this city he still belonged to one of the influential tribes, right? So yes, people were opposing him and they were ridiculing him and even physically torturing some of the other followers who were slaves. But in the city of Taif, they had no regard for how Rasulullah ﷺ was, what tribe he belonged to, and they really mistreated him. It is actually Rasulullah ﷺ was asked by somebody that what day of your life was like the most difficult day of your life, and he said the day I went to Taif. That was the most difficult day of my life. By the end of the day, the leaders of the city had asked the boys, 10, 11, 12-year-old boys, to throw stones at him. And they were ridiculing him, they were throwing stones at him. His feet, his shoes were full of blood because of the bleeding that was happening. And then there's a dua that he made during that time. And that's a dua that Rasulullah, that we make when we get up for tahajjud. If we get up for tahajjud, that's a dua that we can make. It's a good dua. Basically, it's, you know, how he was in pain. He was hurt. He was really hurt. And after that, the incident of Isra. Isra basically means in one part of the night going to some place and then coming back. So basically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took him from Makkah, Baytullah, to Baytul Maqdis, which is Jerusalem. And then from there, he went to Mi'raj. So Isra wal Mi'raj are two incidences that happened one after another. They happened together. So first he went from Baytullah to Baytul Maqdis, then from Baytul Maqdis to up in the heaven. You know, he crossed even Sidratul Muntaha, where Jibreel alayhi salam couldn't go. So these two incidences occurred. Here it says that we showed him our signs. So he saw many things. He saw heaven, hell, punishment. He crossed Sidratul Muntaha. He saw many things. He traveled from Baytul Maqdis to the seventh heaven on Buraq. Buraq was like an animal, it was like a mule, somewhere between a horse and a donkey. And Buraq is, if you remember, the Arabic word for lightning is barq. Even in the Arabic language is barq, baraqa, and barq means lightning. So Buraq was that animal that he was very fast in his travel. So from the earth to the heaven, he took Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam up in the heaven. And that was his ride basically from Jannah. Then he led all the prophets. So he was the Imamul Anbiya. He led all the prophets. When he went to Baytul Maqdis, he led a Jama'ah of all the prophets that were behind him, subhanAllah. And then it's
At Baitul Muqaddas, right?
Baitul Maqdis. Right. That's where he led the Jama of all the prophets that were behind him. Subhanallah, which is basically the sign that he's the last of the prophets. He's the Imam of all the prophets, and he led all of that. So he saw many things on Isra, and when he came back, so in this day and age, considering that somebody went from one place to like thousands of miles away, we can understand it. Right? We can accept it. It's not difficult for us. But at that age, when there was no technology, no science, no nothing, it was impossible to believe it, to believe that somebody did this in one night. He went from Baytullah to Baitul Maqdis, and now he's saying he went from Baitul Maqdis to the heaven, and he saw all of that. So it was very difficult to believe whatever he was saying. And Abu Bakr was the one who confirmed him, and because people came to him and said, "This is your friend is saying," and he said, "If he's saying it, then I give tasdeeq to it. I confirm it. What he's saying is the truth." And we gave Musa the scripture and made it a guidance for the children of Israel, that you not take other than me as disposer of affairs. O descendants of those who we carried in the ship with Nuh alayhi salam, indeed he was a grateful servant. And we conveyed to the children of Israel in the scripture that you will surely cause corruption on the earth twice, and you will surely reach a degree of great haughtiness. So this corruption on the earth is basically they were in power. It happened twice in the history. The first time is, it mentions in ayah number 5, so when the time of promise came for the first time, we sent against you servants of ours. And these servants of ours were basically the Assyrians. The king of the Assyrians at that time was Bakht Nasr. That's the Arabic word that's there for the king. And those of great military might. And they were a very, very strong people. Very strong people. And it's talking about the Jews basically. So the first time they were completely annihilated. They were finished. Because it's talking about Jerusalem, and then that's why it's talking about the people of Bani Israel, Jews. The first time these Assyrians that came, they completely finished them, all of them. Those of great military might, and they probed even into the homes, and it was a promise fulfilled. Then we gave back to you return victory over them, and then Jews got back again to in power. They were better. And we reinforce you with wealth and sons, and made you more numerous in manpower. And number 7, and said, if you do good, you do good for yourselves, and if you do evil, you do it to them, that is yourselves. Then when the final promise, that is the second promise, came, we sent enemies to sadden your faces and to enter the masjid. This time it was the Romans. That is the temple of Jerusalem, as they entered in the first time, and to destroy what they had taken over with total destructions. This was the second time that the Jews were again annihilated, completely finished. And this is when they left Jerusalem and they dispersed all over the world, finding for some place of refuge. And this is when they started looking for the place where the Torah mentions that a prophet would come. So they were waiting for a prophet to come, because they knew that the prophet would support us. It would help us again, like Musa had come to help us, support us, and bring us back to our, good times. So they knew that Torah had mentioned a prophet would come. So they were waiting for the prophet. So when all of them dispersed all over the world, they started looking for that place. They started looking for the signs in Torah. Where is that place? And that is why they settled in Medina, because they knew that this is where a prophet would come. So they were waiting for Rasulullah to come. Indeed, this Quran guides to that which is most suitable, and gives good tidings to the believers who do righteous deeds, that they will have a great reward. And that those who do not believe in the hereafter, we have prepared for them a painful punishment. And man supplicates for evil when angry, as he supplicates for good. And man is ever hasty. وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ عَجُولًا. And these are the things that are spread out in the Quran about how human beings are. And one of the things is وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ عَجُولًا. Man is hasty. And if we look at it in ourselves, we have this attribute of ajal. And we want things to be done right away. That's one of the main reasons, at least I've been noticing about myself, when we lose it on the kids, is because we're in a state of hurry. When we want things to be done. Right? That's when we lose it more on them. So Allah has created us like that. Human beings are like that. But that doesn't mean we give in completely to our nafs. This is where if the soul is conscious, if the soul is strong, then this human, the physical, the nafs part of us, where it is ajula, where it is daif and all of it, that can be under controlled if the soul is strong. Right? Because Allah breathed His soul into us. That's what we did, right? We did that yesterday. So Allah breathed His soul into us. Allah is not Ajula, right? Allah is the most, He's a Sabur, He's a Shakur. So we have those things. But because we don't ever work at our soul or our spirit, so that's why we have completely turned into just those physical beings of, weak and hasty and all of that. And we have made the night and the day 2 signs, and we erased the sign of the night, and made the sign of the day visible, that you may seek bounty from your Lord, and may know the number of years, and the account of time, and everything we have set out in detail. It basically talks about the sun, the moon, the days, so that you calculate. We have calendars and everything. This is the reason Allah gave it to us. And for every person we have imposed his fate upon his neck, and we will produce for him on the day of resurrection a record which he will encounter spread open. So every person has his fate hanging to his neck. Basically, whatever has to happen in my life will happen. I can't stop it. If I have to take a certain journey, this is the safar. Safar is written. It is written. It will happen. Somehow, some plan will come up, and this will happen. Right? So fate is something which is with us. But however, we have to understand that it doesn't mean that we are dependent on the fate. Allah gave us a free will to do what we want to do. Right? Allah gave us, for example, that I will be living in this house, and I will be living a happy, wealthy life. Right? So it depends upon what I do with this wealthy life, or how my husband earns this wealth that he has. The risk was written in his life. That's written. He's going to get it. How he gets it is his choice. So every person has fate on it. It will be said, read your record. Sufficient is yourself against you this day as an accountant. So number 14 clearly says, so basically every day of my life is like a page. I have a book. I have a book of accountability. Every day is like a page, and I'm writing on it myself. And on that day, this book will be presented to me. And on the day of resurrection, it will be presented to me, this is what you did. So it's not going to be a surprise for me, or really I did that, because I know everything that I've done in my life. In Surah Kahf, this is the statement that the criminals say, مَا لِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ لَا يُغَادِرُ صَغِيرَةً وَلَا كَبِيرَةً إِلَّا أَحْصَاهَا. That what? This book has not left anything, whether small or big, and it has taken into account everything. إِلَّا أَحْصَاهَا. It has measured everything that I did. Not a second was. We waste a lot of time. We waste a lot of time in our life. We don't care of the seconds. Really minutes and seconds, that doesn't even count in our lives. And everything is written down. We can start really taking care of the small minutes even. And this is something that it's a very, like a strict approach, you can say. But people who study time management, who do time management, they go by minutes. They don't go by hours. They go by minutes. Right? And for us as Muslims, the surah Wal Asr that we read in the Salah so much, right? Because it's a short surah, and we read it quite a bit. Wal Asr, right? Entirely by time, man is in loss. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told me, this is the main thing that will make you in loss, that you're going to lose because of time. There was a Mufassir who said that when I read this surah, then what I imagine is like this life is like a big block of ice given to me, and I've been asked to sell it, right? And it's melting. It's sunny, it's hot, and it's melting. Right? So imagine somebody who's selling a block of ice. How quick he has to be in selling off the ice, because it's melting. If he doesn't sell it off quickly, then it's all going to melt. He has nothing left. He said that's what this life is. That's what time is basically. It's just ticking by. So the time right now is 11:22. Friday, June 2nd, is the 7th of Ramadan. And so 11:22, 7th of Ramadan, June 2nd, is never ever going to come back. It's never ever going to come back. Once it's 11:23, 11:22 is gone for the 7th of Ramadan in this year. Right? That's what time is. That is just slipping by. So it will be said, read your record. Sufficient is yourself against you this day as accountant. من اهتدى فإنما يهتدي لنفسه ومن ضل فإنما يضل عليها ولا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى. Whoever is guided is only guided for the benefit of his soul, and whoever errs only errs against it. And no bearer of burdens will bear the burden of another, and never would we punish until we sent a messenger. It's very clear ayahs. Everybody is independent. Whatever good we do is for ourselves. Whatever bad we do is for ourselves. And I am not going to bear the burden of anybody else, not even my kids. The reason I say this is because I see a lot of parents focusing their life just on their kids. Just on their kids. Yes, it's important. We're living in a minority, in a country where most of the people are not Muslims, so we have to work harder. Yes, I agree to that. Definitely we have to work harder. We can't just be lax and easy as we used to be back home in our countries if we're coming from Muslim majority countries, right? But yet again, all of us have to be prepared for a day when you and I will be standing in front of Allah. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةً وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. Nobody will bear the burden of anybody else. So if I say, Allah Ta'ala, I was very busy with raising my kids and I didn't do my salah on time, I didn't read the Quran myself, I didn't put in as much effort to understand the book, I didn't do any effort, my salah or my saum or my ibadah or my sadaqah, right, or anything that I should have done, I didn't do it because I was busy teaching them all of that, right? So then that's, no bearer will bear the burden of another soul. So Allah says, no, your children won't bear your burden. And hopefully, inshallah, our children can become sadaqah jariyah for us, and we should work towards it, definitely. But again, even that is with the focus. If you look at it, if you're making children the sadaqah jariyah, even that's the focus of the hereafter. Right? So even that has to be, some people do it for, so having good kids is a thing of self-satisfaction. If you have good kids, right, you're self-satisfied. So this is something where we have to be very, very careful. Am I doing it because I will be satisfied, I will be happy, I'll be proud of them? And unfortunately, sometimes people do it for that. If their kids are good, right, they are hufaz, for example, or they are highly educated, they're well settled in their lives, they feel proud of themselves. We did this, right? You didn't do it for akhirah. If you didn't, you just did it for this dunya, so that, people say that she raised very good kids, she has very good kids, their family is very well educated. It'll be finished here. Right? Nothing in the hereafter.
Parents, they don't, even if the kids don't like it, they're like, oh, I want you to be a doctor, and then in the end, that just gets bragged about to people. Sure.
This is something very common that, and specifically here, I'm seeing this, that every time people want to do something, like there's a sister who said, I want to start some Quran classes, can you please teach? And I said, sure. And I said, and I don't know how it came. She's like, I want to do it because I want my daughter to see it. If she sees it, then she will do it. So whereas this is absolutely right. Kids will do what they see us doing, but your intention cannot be that. Your intention has to be purely for Allah. It cannot be for your kids. If you want to learn the book of Allah, do it for Allah. And then automatically the kids will do it. By seeing you do it, the kids will do it. But don't make the intention, I'm doing it because my kids will do it. Right? So, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Deeds are but intentions. So our intentions have to be, remember Amal Saleh, the definition, the two things for Amal Saleh: sincerity, conformity. Sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and conformity to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Right? So we got to be very, very sincere for Allah. Ayah number 16. And when we intend to destroy a city, we command its affluent, but they defiantly disobey therein. So the word, that is the punishment, comes into effect upon it, and we destroy it with complete destruction. And how many have we destroyed from the generations after Nuh? And sufficient is your Lord concerning the sins of his servants, as aware and seeing. So basically, how this ayah is talking about that our actions have consequences. When the entire nation as communities, when they committed sins and they could care less about the law of Allah, then we destroyed them. Then we sent punishments on them. Right? So individually and as community, there are consequences for our deeds, for our actions. Whoever should desire the immediate, we hasten him from it. And what we will to whom we intend, then we have made for him hell, which he will enter to burn, censured and banished, which is condemned and banished. وَمَنْ أَرَادَ الْآخِرَةَ وَسَعَى لَهَا سَعْيَهَا وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَأُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ سَعْيُهُمْ مَشْكُورًا. But whoever desires the hereafter and exerts the effort due to it while he is a believer, it is those whose effort is ever appreciated by Allah. So these are the two examples that Allah has given, one after another. Ayah number 18, whoever desires the immediate, we hasten for him from what he wants to do. He intends, and what's the immediate? What's ajila? This dunya. Whoever wants this dunya, we'll give it to him. That's what he wants. He doesn't want hereafter, so he won't have anything in the hereafter. As opposed to that, there's a person, whoever desires the hereafter and exerts the effort due to it. So hereafter is something like we discussed earlier. Dunya and akhirah are two separate commodities, and both of them need effort to be put in. Right? As we need to put in effort for dunya, you and I had to get up in the morning, right? Change, get up, do suhoor, for example, whatever, change or whatever we had to do in the home. We had to put in an effort to come here, right? Even if you were not coming here, you had to go somewhere else for grocery or for salah, for masjid, for Jummah, you'll go. We have to put in an effort, right? Of course, naturally. This is the same thing for akhirah. It's really like that. If we don't put in effort for akhirah, there's nothing for us in akhirah then. We have to put in an effort for akhirah. And that is why it begins with the intention for akhirah. The intention is theirs, and hopefully, inshallah, the deeds will be there. And then they can grow too, inshallah. To each category we extend, to these and to those, from the gift of your Lord. And never has the gift of your Lord been restricted. Look how we have favored in provision some of them over the others. So you know how you look at different people, some are very beautiful, some are very tall, some have a lot of mental capabilities, right? Some are very rich, right? So Allah has favored some over the other. Allah has done that. So I don't have to be the one thinking, oh, why don't I have it? Why am I not pretty? Why am I not that intelligent, or my IQ is not that big? And this is a provision of Allah. Allah's favor some over the other. But the hereafter is greater in degrees and greater in distinction. This is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts everybody at ease. Even if you're not beautiful, even if you don't have that much mental capability, for example, it's okay, doesn't matter. The distinction, the degrees in the hereafter, the criteria, the standard of the hereafter is different. Right? So if in this dunya I didn't have a lot of mental capability, I didn't have a lot of money. If I was a sincere person and I worked hard, and the ayah right before it tells whoever wants the hereafter and works towards it, we will give it to him. So if I'm a sincere person, I sincerely work towards my akhirah, right? And I'm working hard at it, I'm good. It's okay if I'm not as beautiful and as pretty and as eloquent, not a good writer, and not very rich to give lots of sadaqah. Doesn't matter. That's a provision by Allah that He gave it to some. If I didn't have it, that's okay. Doesn't matter. That doesn't stop me from being a sincere person or being a hard-working person. Do not make as equal with Allah another deity, and thereby become condemned and forsaken. And now ayah number 23 in Al-Isra, it's like a constitution, it's like a Magna Charta that comes here with different postulates. Starting with ayah number 23. And your Lord has decreed that you worship not except Him. That's the first one. The second one, and to parents do good treatment, whether one or both of them reach old age, while you say not to them so much as uff, and do not repel them, but speak to them a noble word. Right? And we've heard of so many ahadith that talks about, the right of the parents, especially when they reach old age. That's why it's mentioned here, especially when they reach old age, right? And there was a hadith where there was a man who carried his mother on his back, on his shoulders, and he did Hajj with her. He made her do Hajj like that. And he came back to Rasulullah and said, Ya Rasulullah, have I repaid her for what she has done for me? And he said, not even one night. Not even one night that she was up for you. Right? And those of you who have, like Sobi, you have young kids, what have you not done for her? Right? What's your life after her? Imagine your life before her and after her. So when you have kids, life changes. Especially a mother. Mother gives up everything. We physically, mentally, spiritually, we give up ourselves for kids. Everything that we have, it's for them. If we're eating and the kids come and want it, Mama, can I have it? You can't say no. You can't say no. Right? Even if you're super hungry, you just have to give it to it. That's the fitrah. That's how Allah has created us. Right? And that is why the test is for the children of obedience. For us, it's the test of tarbiyah and amana. For them, it's a test of obedience. in parenting, we're focused a lot on obedience of kids, that my kids should listen to me. How do I get them to listen to me? Right? If you look at a lot of parenting blogs and books and all these, how do you get them to listen to you? That's not our test. That's the children's test. They have to listen. My test is to discipline them with love. Tarbiyah and love, and these two things. Right? So if they, especially for children, if they reach old age, don't even say oof to them, because they're old then. You can't. So that means that if I can't even say oof, so situation will occur. Situation will occur when I will say oof to them. That is why Allah specifically said, don't even say oof to them. So you can't even say something small to them, because they have borne so much. They have borne with you so much that you cannot repay them back ever. So the least that you can do with them is don't even just use a kind language, right? And in old age, people become difficult. Some parents are difficult. Some people are difficult. Some people have difficult parents, right? That's their test. That's what it is, right? But here it doesn't make any exceptions in the parentheses. If your parents are difficult, then you can be difficult with them. You can say unkind words to them. You can't. There's no exception. As long as this is a mother or this is a father, you find one of them or both of them in old age, can't do anything. Cannot do anything. And we have to see what's the need for our parents. Some parents have financial needs. Fulfill them financially. Right? Some parents have physical needs. They physically need you. Physical needs. Some parents have emotional needs. They're financially okay, they're physically okay, but it's their emotional need to be with you, to be around you. And emotional needs are unlimited. They're unlimited. No matter what you do, you cannot fulfill them. But as much to your capacity, as much as you can. Just do it. Right? Inshallah. And lower to them the wing of humility out of mercy, and say, رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. My Lord, have mercy upon them as they brought me up when I was small. Your Lord is most knowing of what is within yourselves. Right? So He knows that it's difficult sometimes. Dealing with parents sometimes becomes difficult. They don't understand. And you can't say anything. Right? You have to just respect them. You can't do anything. So Allah knows what is within yourself. Right? It's interesting how the ayahs follow one after the other. As things, sometimes it happens that I'm reading and some things are coming in my head and the answer is right in the next ayah. Right? Because when you're thinking of parents, you're thinking like, they can't understand. It's difficult. And right here, Allah says, Allah is most knowing of what is within yourself. If you should be righteous, that is, you do good to them, then indeed He is ever to the oft returning to Him most forgiving. So even if it is against your will to be nice to them, to be good to them, to listen to them, do it. Ayah number 26 and number 3. And give so the first one was never do shirk. Second one was be good to the parents. Number 3, and give the relative his right. And then also the poor and the traveler. And do not spend wastefully. So basically this talks about spending money on, first is your family, then is your relatives. The first is your family, and then the poor, and then the traveler. Right? So if the family is poor, then they would have the first, the right would be a family who's poor. Right? First example is family, then the poor person. But if there's a poor family, then that's the first category that we have to fulfill, inshallah. And do not spend wastefully. Indeed, the wasteful are brothers of the devils, and ever has shaitan been to his Lord ungrateful. This is where we have to mark this, the shaitan, the things that we were writing about shaitan. Shaitan will make us waste money. He will make us do it. If we don't spend it on the right cause, then we will have extra money, and we will have extra money, and then we will waste it. That is why we have to put the money in the right causes. Right, so that we don't have extra spare money to waste. Right? And shaitan will come from here, wasting money and wasting our resources. And basically, Allah is the one who gives us money, right? So if Allah is the one who gives us money, then we are wasting His bounty. Right? He gave it to us. And if you must turn away from them, that is the needy, awaiting mercy from your Lord, which you expect, then speak to them a gentle word. So if somebody comes to you, know how people say, if beggars come, should we give it to them, should we not give it to them? We're promoting beggary. If you're one of that mentality, okay, that's fine. You believe in that you shouldn't promote beggary, don't give it to them. But don't snub them away. Don't be rude to them. right? You don't have to be harsh to them, because there is a difference in you sitting in a car or coming out of the masjid holding a purse in your hand, and that person who's in this state. This person is begging. There's a difference. You're not in that person's position. You're not in that person's position. You're still in a better position. So just respect that fact that Allah made you a giving hand, not a receiving hand. You know how they say that a giving hand is better than a receiving hand, right? So just respect that fact that you're not the one begging. So if you have to not give it to them, you believe that I shouldn't be giving it to the poor, that's fine. Some people say no, just give it. Some people, and everybody has their own thought process behind it, and it's okay. However you want to think. Some say that, I know there's a person who said that, Allah doesn't look at us like that. When we ask Him of something, He doesn't look at us like He deserves it, or He doesn't, or He shouldn't be asking. He gives it to us. So being His slaves, we should just give. That's one thought. The other says, no, you're promoting beggary here. People should be working hard. There should be a system. They should be working. They should be occupied. And that's right. As a social system, beggary is something which is not liked in Islam at all. There's so many ahadiths that curses beggars and beggary. So beggary is not a social system that Islam would promote or encourage for anybody to have. So if you're of that mentality, that don't give it to them. There are people who are standing out of the masajid, especially after Taraweeh, they stand and they're begging, right? So it's good if you just tell them that, go to the masjid, please. Go to the masjid and, ask them. And then the masjid should be organized enough to have money for people, right? It should be organized enough to have their names written down, have a time and place for them where they can come and get food or whatever money they want. We should have systems for that as well. If you're fighting one system, then have another system to equate it, right? You're fighting one system of beggary. I don't want people to beg, but then have something else for them. So number 4 was, if you turn away from them, then at least speak gently. Number 5, do not make your hand as chained to your neck or extend it completely and thereby become blamed and insolvent. And this is basically miserliness, right? So basically you shouldn't be a miser person, that you cannot give at all. If your hand is stuck right here to your neck, that's basically, it shows it's an expression that you're not giving at all. You're a miser person. And this is something which is very painful. If you live with somebody, if you look at somebody who's a miser, bukhul, this is a painful thing. And may Allah protect us from this bad akhlaq, from this bad character. The hadith of Rasulullah says, don't give so much so as to become needy yourself. So we are basically a balanced nation, right? We're in between. We're not extravagant and we are not miserly as well. We're right in between. The one who spends in, this is a hadith of Rasulullah, one who spends in moderation will never be helpless and needy. Ma'ala man iqtasata. So the one who spends in moderation will never be helpless and needy. So that's a good principle that Allah has given. To spend in moderation. You won't be needy or you won't be spendthrift, inshallah. And if we can actually follow this rule, then a lot of financial crises that people go through in their personal lives and communities go through, then we can resolve a lot of financial problems. A lot of I was reading some research on marriages, why divorces take place, and one of the key reasons why divorces take place is financial problems. One of the main reasons why divorces take place is financial causes. People are not managing their finances. Right? And Allah is giving a very good principle here. Don't be on extremes. Just stay in the middle. Right? The golden mean between the two extremes. And number 31, the 6th postulate. And do not kill your children for fear of poverty. We provide for them and for you. Indeed, their killing is ever a great sin. Right? And a lot of discussion has been going on abortion now. Killing children. Right? Not allowed, of course, in Islam. Unless there's a physical reason for the woman that she's gonna die because of carrying that baby or that kind of reason. Otherwise, this is something which is not allowed. Even Christianity doesn't allow it. They don't even allow it either. Ayah number 32. Point number 7. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. And do not approach unlawful sexual intercourse. Indeed, it is ever an immorality and is evil as a way. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. Don't even go close to zina. Right? Allah has kept it as a fitra in us, the attraction between male and female. It's fitra, it's there, right? Why have men been asked to lower their gaze? Why have women been asked, or men both together, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا, don't even go close to it, because if you go close to it, then you're going to do it, right? Like Umar radiallahu anhu used to say that the eyes commit zina, the ears commit zina. How do that commit zina? By looking at a person, right? By listening to something. If the person is, if you're talking like that, right? Now something which is in is sexting. That's what it is. People are texting these things. So if we go close to it, then we're gonna enter that. So this is something we have to be really, really careful when it comes to our kids. Something we have to be super careful. So I'm sorry, but there's no concept of platonic friendship in Islam. There's no concept. We're just friends. No, there's no concept like that. There's a video that went viral a few days, I think it was last year, a couple of months ago, when it's a Muslim brother who did a survey in his university. And he was here, right, in the US, in Canada or US? It was here in the US. And he went to, so, girls and boys were sitting and they were just chatting. You know how university people just sit and chat. And he asked the girl, like, is he your friend? And she says, yeah, he's a very good friend. He's my best friend, blah, 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 blah. And then he went to the boy, with that same girl's boyfriend. Not the boyfriend, but the friend who's a boy. And he asked her, how do you take her? And she said, I hope she's interested in me, eventually. And this is 100%. All the boys wanted the other kind of relationship with that girl. And the girl was saying, no, he's just a friend, he's just a friend, he's just a friend. Right? So this is something, and then he said that, and then he showed the video to everybody, and the girls were like, this is what they're thinking? Right? Because this is fitra. Allah has kept it inside. And that is why because there's attraction between male and female, that's why we get married. That's why we fulfill our desires, because there's a halal way to do it. But before marriage, there's not, there's engagements that go on, right? People get engaged, and then for a long time they get engaged, and then they're talking because we're engaged, so we can talk, we can go out. No, engagement is nothing. Engagement is a contract between two families, not two people. Between two families that our kids are going to get married eventually. Marriage is a contract between two people that we're going to live together. Engagement is no contract. Right? So, alhamdulillah, now I see lots of people, they're doing nikah for their kids. If they know their kids are studying, or, there are visa issues and it's going to take some time for people to get married, then they do nikah, which is good, which is this is how it should be. Just do nikah. Don't do the marriage that the girl just leaves the house and goes and lives with the husband. Do nikah, because there's no concept of engagement here. This is something we have to be very careful, and we have to teach our kids that when they start growing older. And unfortunately, it's not a good thing, but it's unfortunate that we have to make aware the kids at a much earlier age, because it starts so early here that even when they should have been kids when they were 10, 12. Kids should be kids. But here, there's so much going on. There's so much going on, especially once they enter middle school. You guys have been here. I didn't do middle school here, but my nieces and nephews are doing it. So I hear things from them. I hear stories from them that, when middle school starts, this girl-boy thing just starts.
It's not even middle school. Right? It's like 4th.
Even 4th, 5th grade? Subhanallah. Right? There's a friend of mine who said that his first grader, there was an American boy, and most of the kids were Indians and Muslims, and there was just one American boy, and he told everybody in the class the process of intercourse between a man and a woman. He was an American boy, and he told everybody. This is 1st grade, right? And that's when she pulled the child out and put him somewhere else. So our kids know many things from a very early age. Right? So we have to talk before anybody else talks to them. We have to talk to them. We have to keep this in our hands. Right? We have to be open. And I face this, and I see it in many religious families. The kids whose parents are religious, kids think that either our parents don't know about these things, because they're always into Salah and Quran, all these things, or if we ask them something or tell them something, they're going to scold us. So kids keep quiet. And this is a gap that I see between religious parents and their kids being born and raised here. And I see it in my own house. Right? So we have to keep the communication open with kids. No matter, first tell them that I know everything. Yeah, I know everything. Do it to them. crack a joke sometime. I know this. Because they have to know. The kids have to know that my mom and my dad, they know. They have to have that confidence. It builds the confidence for the kids. It's not confident for kids to think that, oh, my mom doesn't even know. That's not very respectful for them. They should know that, okay, my parents know. And then the communication has to be open. So when they come, they know that if this is something I can ask my mama or my abu. Right? They won't scold me. And this, because I was thinking just a while ago when somebody told me this first grader told everything, and this boy is in my son's class now. And I was like, okay, what am I doing? And I just thought, and I said, okay, so one thing is that I tell my kids everything myself. And I was like, but no, they're still innocent. I don't want to discuss these things with them. So one thing that I told them is, and they know this, they go out, they see this. Right? I don't have a TV in my house, so it's not as easy and open. Right? People who have TV in their houses, it's in the ads, it's everywhere. It's in just normal TV shows. It's there. This girl and boy thing is there, and this is common in the society. This is where shaitan has completely overtaken them. Completely. There's so many good things in this society. There are many good things in this society. Honesty, truthfulness, smiling, helping people. Right? You see this in general. These are good things. This is part of Islam. Yet on the other hand, shaitan has completely overtaken them. And this is how he has broken the family system. He has made the family system weak. And this is the downfall of the society. That the family system is broken. Right? So shaitan has completely overtaken them. So basically what I told my kids is, if you see something like this, and if somebody tells you something of this regard, girl, boy, this and that, you come and ask mama. You come and ask Abu. Right? Don't just let anybody tell you, but you confirm it with us. And he said, Mama, would you know this? That was his question. Mama, do you know about it? I said, Beta, I know everything. Right? So kids think that. For religious parents, kids have this image. Because my parents are pious, so they don't know. Right? So this is something, this is a trial of the society. It's a tough thing of the society. Number 8, ayah number 33. And do not kill the soul, that is a person which Allah has forbidden, except by right. And whoever is killed unjustly, we have given his heir authority. But let him not exceed limits in the matter of taking life. Indeed, he has been supported by the law. Number 9 postulate. And do not approach the property of an orphan except in the way that is best, until he reaches maturity. Number 10, and fulfill every commitment. وَأَوْفُوا بِالْعَهْدِ إِنَّ الْعَهْدَ كَانَ مَسْئُولًا. Indeed, the commitment is ever that about which one will be questioned. So this is where ahad is our promises. Whatever we say, I'll call you, I'll text you, I'll let you know. This is a promise. You told somebody that I will do it, and then you don't do it. And unfortunately, this is very common for Muslims. Very common for Muslims. You go to their shops, they're not as honest. Right? If you go in general, I know there was somebody who wanted to return something, and it was not like the Kroger and these brands. And I think it was a store owned by Muslims or some Indian, and they couldn't return it. Right? And they said, why is it with the Muslim stores? Why is it with these businesses that you can't return it and you can't do these things? When it comes to these Americans, they always do it. They're honest. Whatever they say, you will keep it, return it, they will do it. Right? Customer service is the key in these stores. That's why we go to these stores. Because we know that whatever I say will be valued. If I have to return it, I can return it. Right? So promise is something, my word is something that as a Muslim, I have to keep it, because I will be asked about it. وَكَانَ مَسْئُولًا. I will be asked about it. Ayah number 35, the 11th point. And give full measure when you measure, and weigh with an even, that is honest balance. That is the best way and best in result. This is like a basic business principle. Just measure with balance. Right? There was a man in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was selling some dates which were not of as good quality as the ones that he was getting. It was a barter trade system at that time, right? And Rasulullah said, this is interest. You can't do that. Bad quality dates and good quality dates exchanging. You can't do that. We have to be honest people of measure, people of balance. Unfortunately, Muslims are not known like that. We're known to be people who do fraud. We're known to be people who lie. We're known to be people who would sell things and would say things about it which is not the quality of their product. Why are we like that? We're Muslims. This should be our insignia. Honesty, truthfulness, doing honest business, right? Keeping our word. But unfortunately we have, and I guess what I see the main reason is we are away from this book. We're away from this book. We don't read it. If I was to read it, and I will come across it in Surah Al-Isra at some point in my life. If I have some aim in my life, I will finish the Quran once in 2 years. Like, have some substantial aim to keep up with this book. I will finish this in 1 year, in 2 years, in 5 years. You know, you're a slow reader, that's okay. You know, you don't have time, you're a very hardworking person, you're doing 3 jobs and you're studying. Okay, I'll read 1 line, but have some aim so that we're in touch with this book and we read it, and then we become what the book requires us to be. And give full measure when you measure, and weigh with an even balance. That is the best way and best in result. Ayah number 36. And do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. Indeed, the hearing, the sight, and the heart, about all those one will be questioned. There is a hadith of Rasulullah in which he said that a person's beauty of deen lies in the fact that he deals with matters concerning him only. So things about which you have no knowledge, do not pursue it. And this is something that I and you as women, as the female gender, have to take care of. We discuss so much about other people and other things. I have no business what's going on. So if there's a sister that lives right across, and I see a car there, and I see a male coming down of the car and entering the house. Who is that? What is he doing that? She's not home. Her daughters are home. Why is he going inside? It's none of my business. Right? But we have everything to do with other people's business and not my own business, which is to read this book and understand it. I have so much time in my life. You know how they say, small minds discuss people? Average minds discuss events. This happened, that happened. You know, the kidnapping, this, that, blah, blah. Great minds discuss ideas. This is what this book is. It's about an ideology. It discusses ideas. It gives an idea of life. Do this. Try this. Work hard. Right? This book talks about yatafakkarun, tadhakkarun, think, ponder, reflect, remember. Right? So a certain personality gets built up when we are following this book. And when we are away from this book, then when we are people of small minds, discussing people and discussing events. Right? And this is tongue, and we will do this today, usage of our tongue. This is something as women we have to be super, super careful about. Right? How we're using our tongue and our time. Number 13 point. And do not walk upon the earth exultantly. That is, with pride. Indeed, you will never tear the earth apart, and you will never reach the mountains in height. See, the thing is, if you and I have arrogance in the heart, then it will come out, either in my talk, or the way I walk, or in my lifestyle. You will see it. If I have arrogance in my heart. And Allah is saying, do not walk upon the earth exultantly. Which is basically, what is He saying? If somebody is walking with arrogance, walking with pride, that means the person has it in the heart. Right? And pride is something that the hadith says, even if you have a little and like a teeny weeny ounce of pride in your heart, you cannot enter Jannah. Right? The first sin that was committed ever on this universe by Iblis the reason was arrogance. He said, Ana khayrum minhu, I am better. This is something which you and I have to be very, very careful about. This is something that our brothers have to be very careful about, because woman is emotional by nature, man is egotistical by nature. So this pride can get the better of them. Right? So they have to understand that one is their part of nature, ego, which is fine, right? But they shouldn't have pride. Right? And this is where wives can play a role. If they respect the ego of their husband, then this need of theirs gets fulfilled and they don't go on the path of pride. But if wives don't fulfill that nature of the man, right, then they go to the path of pride. Right? So as wives, inshallah, those of you who will become wives, be very, very careful about this. Man is egotistical by nature. And respect that. Respect that fact. Right? Which, does that mean that I have to listen to them all the time? Yes. You would think I'm going to say no? Yes. But what if they're asking me not to pray? No, we can't. You say sorry. See, the thing is, when we are connected with this book, right, and we have a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a certain level of strength of iman that comes in us. And people who deal with us, whether they're our siblings or our husbands, our spouses, our parents, they see it. They can feel it. And they won't mess with it. But that is if my relationship is strong. If my relationship is not strong and it's an artificial, external relationship, yes, I pray, yes, I cook food, yes, I give sadaqah, it's just outside, it's not inside, then things get messed up. And then you blame the other person. He's the one, he's not religious. Right? And he doesn't let me pray. And my life is so difficult. Check within yourself. Check your own iman. Okay? So this is something super, super careful, because I see the sisters come to me with a lot of marital issues, right? Young sisters and even old, who are like 10, 15, 20-year-old. And lots of times sometimes I know is it in the families or my friends, and I know their histories. And subhanallah, it's not the man's fault, it's the woman's fault. They don't see it. Right? So this is something, pride is something when it comes to male, we got to respect their ego, to not let them tread on the path of pride. And as women, again, we can have pride. If my house is not beautiful, but if I were to keep a very good house, for example, right? This pride gets into me. If I cook very good, right? If I'm a good cook, this gets into people. I raise good kids, for example. They're well educated, they're well mannered, they dress very nicely, they know how to talk to people. I did this. This can come into us. So pride is something we gotta be really, really super careful about, inshallah. All that is the aforementioned, its evil, is ever in the sight of your Lord detested. That is from what your Lord has revealed to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and wisdom. So Allah has revealed wisdom to you, and whatever these postulates are coming about. And last but not the least, again, and O mankind, do not make as equal with Allah another deity, lest you be thrown into hell, blamed and banished. So these postulates, this is, constitution began with shirk, do not do shirk, and it ended with shirk. 14 points, right? And right in between, if you see, it began with the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't do shirk, and then all the other points were for people. All was huququl ibad, parents, family, traveler, needy, don't be spendthrift, and then give full measure, right? Fulfill your promises, right? La taqrabu zina. All of it is huququl ibad. All of it is talking about dealing with human beings. And at the end, again, it's coming at shirk. So the beginning at the end is, if we give Allah His right, then hopefully, inshallah, the path that we take, we can steer ourselves, hopefully, on that path with the right for people as well. The first right is the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then has your Lord chosen you for having sons, and taken, that is, adopted from among the angels' daughters? Indeed, you say a grave saying. Because this is what they used to say, that the angels are daughters of Allah, right? So for them, they liked sons, and for Allah, they said the angels are their daughters. If you like sons for yourself, why do you want daughters for Allah then? And we have certainly diversified the contents in this Quran, that they, that is mankind, may be reminded, but it does not increase them, that is the disbelievers, except in aversion, right? So this is what we have to see. When I read the Quran, when I listen to the Quran, am I interested? Does it increase me in my iman, or am I more averse to it? Exalted is He, and high above what they say by great sublimity. Subhanahu wa ta'ala amma yaquluna uluwan kabira. Tusabbihu lahu samawatu sab'u wal ardu wa man fihinna. The seven heavens and the earth and whatever is in them exalt Him, and there is not a thing except that it exalts Allah by His praise. But you do not understand their way of exalting. Indeed, He is ever forbearing and forgiving. Innahu kana haliman ghafura. So the word, the word sabaha is used here, to sabbihu, and then subhanahu, and yusabbihu, right? So all of these words basically, they're coming from the root word called sabaha, and sabaha basically means to praise, but like the root meaning of this word is basically to move around in circulation. That's sabaha, to move in circulation, in a state of flotation, as if you're floating and you're just moving around. Everything in this world is made up of what? What's the smallest particle? Science. What's the smallest particle? Atom. Right? And then there's subatomic particles. What's the motion of the atom? Circular. Everything in this world is in a circular motion. What's that? Tasbih. Everything is doing tasbih. You do not perceive it. You do not see this. But everything is in a state of tasbih. Everything is doing tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The sun, the moon, the stars, the trees, this earth, this carpet. Because everything is made up of atoms. That's the smallest particle. And the state which this atom is in a state of circular motion, flotation. So everything is automatically doing the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't perceive it. We don't see it. But they're doing it. So after telling me that everything is in a state of tasbih, right? Everything, whatever is it. Then Allah tells me, when you recite the Quran, we put between you and those who do not believe in the hereafter a concealed partition. Right? So sometimes people, disbelievers, when they hear the Quran, there's a partition in between them. So if there's a partition right here, and I'm talking to you and there's a partition here, can you understand what I'm saying? If you have no lip movement that you can see, no face that you can see, no being that you can see, but there's a partition here. Right? Would you be able to sit with as much focus and concentration? You can't. Right? So sometimes with the disbelievers and people who really don't believe in the Book of Allah, there's a partition. It's not a physical partition, but it's a mental, spiritual partition. And Allah puts it. And why is it there? Why is it partition there between them and Quran? Sometimes we're not interested in this book. We're not. Remember ourselves. When I'm not interested, there's a partition here. Between me and Quran, there's a partition. Not judge anybody else. Sometimes you say, oh, that's a partition person. This is for me to judge. If I'm not interested here, I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. I don't want to hear it. There's a partition. And why is that partition there? Because of my intention. Because of my action. Because of my thought towards this book. Because of my level of respect towards this book. When you recite the Quran, we put between you and those who do not believe in the hereafter a concealed partition. And we have placed over their hearts coverings, lest they understand it, and in their ears deafness. And when you mention your Lord alone in the Quran, they turn back in aversion. Right? So in their hearts, they don't get it. In their ears is deafness. Like how this is ironic, how Allah is saying in their ears is deafness. The ears are there to hear, but Allah put deafness. The hearts are there to understand, but they can't understand. So they have all the faculties, yet they're not fulfilling the function of that faculty because there's a partition there. And the main reason is because you don't mention your Lord and you don't believe in the hereafter. We are most knowing of how they listen to it when they listen to you, and of when they are in private conversation when the wrongdoers say, you follow not but a man affected by magic. Look how they strike for you comparisons, but they have strayed so they cannot find a way. And they say, when we are bones and crumbled particles, will we truly be resurrected as a new creation? Say, be your stones or iron, or any creation of that which is great within your breast. And they will say, who will restore us? Say, he who brought you forth the first time. Then they will nod their heads towards you and say, when is that? Say, perhaps it will be soon. On the day he will call you, and you will respond with praise of him, and think that you had not remained in the world except for a little. This is talking about a conversation between the disbelievers, and this is the Quran is directly talking to them. That a day is going to come when that day you will praise him. In the life you didn't, and when you will be raised back and you will be praising him, then you would say, I lived just a little. وَقُلْ لِعِبَادِي, and tell my servants, يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, say servants to say that which is best. إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ يَنْزَعُ بَيْنَهُمْ إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ كَانَ لِلْإِنسَانِ عَدُوًّا مُبِينًا. Indeed, shaitan induces dissension among them. Indeed, shaitan is ever to mankind a clear enemy. Ayah number 53. If you want to mark it, this is a main tool of shaitan. The sister who's marking about shaitan, Allah says, tell my servants. He's very lovingly telling me, tell my servants. What? يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, to say that which is the best. Usage of the tongue. And shaitan will come from here. Because the way I use my tongue, because the same part of the ayah is, indeed shaitan induces dissension among people. Right? And this is why we usually fight. if you think about it, if we've ever had disagreements or fights with our spouses, or with my parents, or with my siblings, or with my friends, how does it start? With the tongue. That's how it starts. The person says something. Sometimes you feel this, it's not my fault, right? She did something, but you said something. If you had kept quiet, it would not have ignited the fire. So tongue is something we have to be super, super careful. When Luqman radiallahu anhu was asked, Luqman is a figure. It was a figure in the Arabic society, in the Arabic culture, who was we don't know if he was a prophet or not. Some say he was a prophet, some say we don't know. But it was a figure in the, you know how like we know Aristotle, we know Socrates, right? We know these names, right? Even if we don't know what they did, but we know these names, these philosophers. So Luqman was a figure in the Arab society. He was a very wise person, and they knew it. And that's why Allah uses Luqman in the Quran as well. So when Luqman as-salam was used, how come you're so wise? How did you get your wisdom? And he said, by keeping silent, by keeping quiet, remaining silent. There's a hadith of Rasulullah in which he says, there's a word that comes out of the mouth of a human being and he doesn't even realize it. And that takes him into the depths of the hellfire. Or it can take him to the heights of the heavens, like the Jannah. And he doesn't even realize it. That's the key part of this hadith. That the word comes out of our mouth and we don't even realize it. Right? And either it can take us into the depths of the hellfire or in the heights of the heaven. Right? So this is something that without even realizing. So we have to be very, very careful about our tongue. Super careful with our tongue, inshallah. And again, shaitan will come from here. That's something super, super important we have to be careful about. Usage of our tongue. Your Lord is most knowing of you. If He wills, He will have mercy upon you. Or if He wills, He will punish you. And we have not sent you, O Muhammad, over them as a manager. And your Lord is most knowing of whoever is in the heavens and the earth. And we have made some of the prophets exceed others in various ways. And to Dawood we gave the book Zabur. Say, invoke those you have claimed as gods besides Him, for they do not possess the ability for removal of adversity from you, or for its transfer to someone else. Those whom they invoke seek means of access to their Lord. That is basically any idols, any prophet that somebody takes as, because there's some nations that have taken their prophets as sons of God, or any pious person. So anybody, those whom they invoke, seek means of access to their Lord, striving as to which of them would be nearest, and they hope for His mercy and fear His punishment. Indeed, the punishment of your Lord is ever feared. And there is no city but that we will destroy it before the day of resurrection, or punish it with a severe punishment that has ever been in the register inscribed. And nothing has prevented us from sending signs, that is miracles, except that the former people denied them. And we gave Thamud the she-camel as a visible sign, but they wronged her. And we sent not the signs except as a warning. And remember, O Muhammad, when we told you, indeed your Lord has encompassed the people, and we did not make the sight which we showed you except as a trial for the people. This is basically the Isra wal Mi'raj, the incident that happened. It was a trial for the people. It was just a trial. Who will believe in it and who will not believe in it. And we did not make the sight which we showed you except as a trial for the people, as was the accursed tree mentioned in the Quran. The Quran mentions about a tree, Zaqum, and this will come later. Zaqum was a tree in the hellfire, and people started making a lot of fun about it. So basically, people who don't want to believe, no matter what you say to them, they will not believe. So these things are basically Allah saying the reason we gave it to them, the reason we talk about it, the reason those incidences occurred was just a trial for people. And we threaten them, but it increases them not except in great transgression. And mention when we said to the angels, prostrate to Adam, and they prostrated except for Iblis. He said, should I prostrate to one you created from clay? And this is the 4th time this is coming. The mention of the story of Adam and alayhi salam and Iblis. It has been mentioned 7 times in the Quran. We did it in Baqarah, we did it in Araf, then we did it in Surah Hijr, right? And then it's come here in Isra. It's going to come again in Kahf, and then it will come in Taha and Surah Sad. So 7 times it has been mentioned. This is the 4th time. Iblis said, "Do you see this one whom you have honored above me? If you delay me, that is my death, until the day of resurrection, I will surely destroy his descendants, except for a few." Allah said, "Go. For whoever of them follows you, indeed hell will be the recompense of all of you, an ample recompense. And incite to whoever you can among them with your voice, and assault them with your horses and foot soldiers, and become a partner in their wealth and their children, and promise them. وَمَا يَعِدُهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ إِلَّا غَرُورًا. But shaitan does not promise them except delusion." So basically, when Allah gave respite to shaitan, Satan said, "Whoever you can among them with your voice, and assault them with your horses and foot soldiers." So basically, shaitan is an entire army in the form of jinns and men, right? And they're working towards this cause of this, of misleading mankind. Shaitan is actively working, right? And that he's saying is, your horses, your foot, your soldier, use your voice, the waswasa that's coming, that's all real. It's not metaphorical. It's real. The shaitan comes. Shaitan does not want us to focus, so he will cause distractions. Okay, sometimes we are really, really focused at something, we're listening, and some child will come up and do something very cute, and we will start looking at it, and we lose the concentration. This shaitan does that, really. Okay, when the Sahaba would sit in the gatherings of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it is said that they would be so still that birds would come and perch on their heads, thinking they were statues, because they wouldn't move. They were so focused. Right? So these physical distractions we have, right? Even some people have a problem of maintaining wudu, but there's a hadith that says even that is from shaitan. Let's try to fight that. There was some lecture I was listening to where they were saying that people were coming to that it was a scholar coming from Pakistan, and people were complaining to him that I have a lot of anger, what do I do? He said, remain in a state of wudu all of the time, and you will be less angry. I think you mentioned that. Somebody mentioned when we were discussing anger in some other halakha, that if you stay in a remain of wudu, you remain in the state of wudu, then you don't get as angry, right? So we have to understand that shaitan is working actively at these things. That there are jinns, there are human beings that are working, right? And the waswasa that he's doing, and he's saying this. And then he said, become a partner in their wealth and their children. These are two key things. If you look at most of the people who have migrated to this country, most of us are migrants, right? Or our parents are migrants, immigrants, right? Why do we come here? For what? For better life, right? Is there anything wrong with it? No, not necessarily. But then where did shaitan come from? Our own focus, the sole focus of my life is what? Wealth and children. Raising good kids and earning money. That's it. That's my entire focus. That's all we do. And even back home, not just coming here, but our reason is because we're here, so we're discussing this. But even back home, what's the main purpose of people's life? Earning money, raising kids. Earning money, raising kids. This is exactly what he said. That become a partner in their wealth and their children. This is shaitan. He makes me move away from my focus of A, reading this book, B, making this world a better place, being a productive community member, right? Because I'm just so busy with my own stuff, with my household, my kids. My husband is so busy with earning money. That's it. That's what I can do. That's where family systems gets broken. The nuclear system, right? There's a nuclear family system here. Each family is separate, far. Nobody's close to each other. Nobody's there to help each other. That's how it is. That's how the system is. And this is shaitan. But shaitan does not promise them except delusion. Indeed, over my believing servants there is for you no authority. وَكَفَى بِرَبِّكَ وَكِيلًا. And sufficient is your Lord as disposer of affairs. Right? So again, ibadi. Every time if you notice, whenever shaitan was there that I'm going to mislead them, I'm going to misguide them, I'm going to do this and that with horses and men and soldiers, and I'm going to come from the front and the back and everywhere. At the end of this entire speech or this entire story, at the end Allah always say, ibadi, my servants. You'll be my servants, you can't do anything. Right? So inshallah, hopefully may Allah make us one of those servants. It is your Lord who drives the ship for you through the sea, that you may seek of his bounty. Indeed, he is ever to you merciful. And when adversity touches you at sea, lost are all those you invoke except for him. But when he delivers you to the land, you turn away from him, and ever is man ungrateful. Then do you feel secure that instead he will not cause a part of the land to swallow you, or send against you a storm of stones? Then you would not find for yourself any advocate. And do you feel secure that he will not send you back into it, that is the sea, another time, and send upon you a hurricane of wind, and drown you for what you denied? Then you would not find yourself against us any avenger. And we have certainly honored the children of Adam. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ وَرَزَقْنَاهُمْ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا تَفْضِيلًا. And we have certainly honored the children of Adam, and carried them on the land and the sea, and provided for them of the good things, and preferred them over much of what we have created, with definite preference. Right? So man has been created as the best of the creation, Ashraf al-Makhluqat. We have honored the children of Adam. Right? So we are the best of the creation. And what is the thing that made the angels prostrate to Adam alayhi salam? Why? We've done that incident? No, we haven't done it. It will come later then. Basically, it talks about that the angel said that, what is he going to do? Right? Angels, when Allah told the angels that I'm going to create a human being, and the angels said, why are you creating? He's going to create a lot of fasad and corruption on this earth, because there were jinns on this earth and they were doing a lot of corruption. So the angels knew that. So when Allah said, I'm going to create a human being, then he said, they're going to do the same thing. Right? Whatever you've created, who has a choice, whoever decision, this is what the jinns are doing. So this doesn't come in the Quran, the jinns were there, but we know from tafsir. So the humans are going to do the same thing. And Allah says, I know and you do not know. And then when Adam a.s. was created, Allah taught him names of everything. And then he came to the angels and he asked the angels, do you know it? And the angels said, we don't know anything except for what you have told us. And then he asked Adam a.s. and Adam a.s. said yes, and he gave all the names of everything. Right? So knowledge was the thing that made mankind or humans better than everything else. And this knowledge is the thing because of which, unfortunately, if you remember all the ayahs that we've done, it was after knowledge that people differed. After knowledge and the book came to them, that's when they descended. After knowledge came to them, they became people of pride. After knowledge, what was the scholars of Bani Israel doing? The Jews that were there in Medina, they had knowledge, they knew it, and then they differed. Right? And then there were conflicts in them. So knowledge is the thing that is supposed to keep me at an honorable position. But unfortunately, I make wrong decisions because of knowledge. Right? So the thing because of which Allah honored me, I cannot make that thing a reason for dishonoring me in this life. Ayah number 71. And mention, O Muhammad, the day we will call forth every people with their record of deeds. Then whoever is given his record in his right hand, those will read their records, and injustice will not be done to them, even as much as a thread inside the date seed. And subhanAllah, that's something that, some ayahs we can just mark and put up in our houses. Mention, O Muhammad, the day we will call forth every people, their record of deeds. Whoever is given his record in his right hand, they will read it. Injustice will not be done to them as much as a thread inside the date seed. Right? I will be holding my record. And whoever is blind in this life will be blind in the hereafter, and more astray in the way. And indeed, they were about to tempt you away from that which we revealed to you in order to make you invent about something else, and then they would have taken you as a friend. And if we had not strengthened you, you would have almost inclined to them a little. The three top leaders of Makkah came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam: Utbah, Shayba, and Ubaidah. And they were like table talk professionals. They came to negotiate. They came to talk to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they said, what do you want? You want money? You want women? You want respect? What do you want? We'll give you everything. Just stop this message. Right? You want leadership? Whatever you ask us, just stop this message. Just touch the idols. Just touch them. Don't say anything, don't do anything, just touch them. So they were negotiating. And Allah is saying that, if we had not strengthened you, you would have almost inclined to them a little. Because Rasulullah wanted them to believe. So he said, okay, maybe if I do it, then they will believe in me. And they had negotiations like that, 5 days a week, okay, you can worship Allah, one Allah, and then twice a week we'll have the idols. So they were trying to negotiate here. And Allah said, you can't. Had we not strengthened you, you may have inclined to them a little. Then if you had, we would have made you taste double punishment in life. And this is Allah is talking to Rasulullah here. And double after death, then you would not find for yourself against us any helper. And indeed they were about to provoke, that is, drive you from the land, that is Makkah, to evict you therefrom. And then when they do, they will not remain there after you except for a little. And they eventually did, of course. Right? But then Allah says they will not remain there after you except for a little. سُنَّةٌ مَّنْ قَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا قَبْلَكَ مِنْ رُسُلِنَا وَلَا تَجِدُوا لِسُنَّتِنَا تَحْوِيلًا. That is our established way for those we had sent before you of our messengers, and you will not find in our way any alteration. Right? So basically, this has happened with every messenger. This happens with everybody. This can happen with me and for you as well. People trying to make us compromise on our principles. Right? People will do that. Right? But we cannot compromise. On faith is something, especially worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is something that we cannot compromise on. And when we are strong in it, Allah will give us strength. Right? Inshallah. Allah will give us strength to maintain. أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر إن قرآن الفجر كان مشهودا. Ayah number 78 of Surah Al-Isra. Establish prayer at the decline of the sun from its meridian until the darkness of the night. And also the Quran, that is recitation of dawn. Indeed, the recitation of dawn is ever witnessed. And this is the time of the next ayah is وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. And from the part of the night pray, which with it, that is the recitation of Quran, as additional worship for you. It is expected that your Lord will resurrect you to a praised station. This is the tahajjud salah that is mentioned here. And it's also saying that inna Qur'an al-Fajri kana mashhuda. Recitation done at the dawn, at the time of dawn, is ever witnessed. So these are the two key times of recitation of Quran, tahajjud and fajr. Right? And this inshallah. And we should make dua for this. We should make effort to do tahajjud, right? As much as we can try to. Because this is something that brings a lot of peace. It brings a lot of strength. It's a purely spiritual act. Tahajjud is a purely spiritual act. Okay, but we see its effects overall in our life. A lot of ease coming in matters, which is not even related, but somehow more barakah in the day. Time management is better. Kids bothering less. Less fight with the spouse. We see it really. Tahajjud gives a lot of barakah in the day. This is something, inshallah, that we should try. And we know the last third of the night, right? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes on the first heaven. He's usually up high up there on the seventh heaven. There are 7 heavens. He comes on the first heaven. Every 1/3 of the night. And these are special days. This is Ramadan. Really super special days. We get up for suhoor anyways, right? So just get up 15-20 minutes earlier, right? It's really, if I'm not asking anybody to do this, but don't do 20. Do 8. Do 8 tarawih, come back home, sleep, and get up for tahajjud. If you can. Right? Rather than doing complete 20 and getting up and just doing suhoor, because that's a very key, critical time. There was a companion, Ubayd bin Khudayr, and he used to get up for tahajjud regularly. So he would have, in one corner of the house, he would be doing tahajjud. He would be doing his salah. His son Yahya, would be sleeping, in one corner. And then one corner, he had a horse who was ready that if anything happens, like in the state of jihad, any battle, then I would be ready to go. He was that kind of a person. He was doing ibadah, but he's ready for jihad as well. So once he was doing his tahajjud, that the horse started to just neigh and move and make a lot of sounds, and it kept on moving a lot. So he just shortened his salah. It's like, what's up? Because he was scared that the horse will come on his son, or he will wake up the sun. So then he shortened his first rakah. Then he went to the second rakah. Then he started reciting the Quran. So as he started reciting the Quran, again the horse started to move and neigh and make sounds, and he's like, I don't know what's going on. So he shortened his salah basically. And then Fajr time came. So he went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he told him, like, Rasulullah, this is what happened. And he said those were angels coming down, because what happened was that when he finished his salah, he saw light. He His entire house was enlightened, completely enlightened. And he goes like, what's going on here? So at Fajr he asked Rasulullah, and Rasulullah said there were angels in your house. Because when we recite the Quran and Tahajjud, then angels come, because angels are looking for houses. Angels are looking for gatherings like this. They're looking for houses, they're looking for people who are doing the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially at that Tahajjud time. So we can do Qiyam. If we do Taraweeh, we're done with Qiyam, and which is fine if we can do that, right? But just getting up at that time, if we can put in an effort for that, inshallah. Even if we can do 2 rakah. Right? Because it's difficult. I know it's difficult personally for me, and I can't do a lot of long after Taraweeh, because we've already stood up long for Qiyam, right? But inshallah, if we can try to do that. And say, my Lord, cause me to enter a sound entrance and to exit a sound exit, and grant me from yourself a supporting authority. And this is the Masnoon dua for entering any city. رَبِّ يَدْخِلْنِي مُدْخَلَ صِدْقٍ وَأَخْرِجْنِي مُخْرَجَ صِدْقٍ وَاجْعَلْ لِي مِن لَّدُنكَ سُلْطَانًا نَصِيرًا. And say, truth has come and falsehood has departed. Indeed is falsehood by nature ever bound to depart. And we send down of the Quran that which is healing and mercy for the believers, but it does not increase the wrongdoers except in loss. So it's clearly saying, مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Those who believe in it, they will have shifa, they will have mercy because of this book. And those who do not believe, وَلَا يَزِيدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. Those who do wrong, they will just increase in wrongdoings. And when we bestow favor upon man, that is the disbeliever, he turns away and distances himself. And when evil touches him, he is ever despairing. قُلْ say كُلُّ يَعْمَلُ عَلَى شَاكِلَتِهِ فَرَبُّكُمْ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنْ هُوَ أَهْدَى سَبِيلًا. Ayah number 84. Say, each works according to his manner, but your Lord is most knowing of who is best guided in way. Right? Each work according to his manner. You know how everybody has their own ideals, concepts, notions of life, right? Each one of us have a certain thought process, a certain lifestyle, some things we like, some things we don't like. Everybody's like that. Each works according to his manner. Right? Every person has a shakila. Ala shakilati. Everybody has a different personality. Right? That's shakila. Everybody's choices, priorities, decisions, everybody's different. And that's what Allah is saying. That everybody has their own. Each works according to his manner. But your Lord is most knowing of who is best guided in way. Allah knows who's the best. We can't judge. We can't judge anybody, and we should not. But Allah knows who's the most guided. So after reading this ayah, what is the thought that I should have in my mind? I have a certain personality, right? If you have a certain personality, you have a certain personality. And Allah is saying, Allah is knowing who's the most guided. So what's the thought that should come into my head? Who's the guided one? I want to know what's the path of guidance, because Allah knows who's the best guided one. And He talks about guidance here. So what's guidance? This is half of the Quran. What's guidance? It's Quran. Simply. Right? So if Allah knows who's the most guided, and guidance is right here, then if I want to be the guided one, despite my shakila, whatever my shakila is, and that's the beauty of Islam. Really, that's the beauty of this religion. You can be what you are. You're a jovial, hyper person. Be like that. Who was the companion? I think it was Abu Dhar Ghaffari, who used to crack jokes a lot. It was Abu Dhar. I don't remember the name. But companions came to Rasulullah and said, Ya Rasulullah, he cracks jokes all the time. He's laughing all the time. And Rasulullah said, don't say anything to him. He loves Allah and he loves his Rasul. And that love will take him to Jannah. So just leave him. Don't say that to him. So people are like that. One of my brothers is a super funny guy. He's like, you just look at him and you start laughing. That's how he is. Okay, alhamdulillah, that's fine. As long as he has love of Allah in his heart, he's trying his best to do what he's supposed to do, that's fine. Or if you're a serious person, there's some people who are just serious. They are like that. Right? So each one of us can be what we are. We can like what we like. We can live however we want to live. We can have it. As long as we want to be guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, inshallah. And they asked you, O Muhammad, about the soul. Say, the soul is of the affair of my Lord, and you, that is mankind, have not been given of knowledge except a little. And if we willed, we could surely do away with that which we revealed to you. Then you would not find for yourself concerning it an advocate against us, except we have left it with you as a mercy from your Lord. Indeed, His favor upon you has ever been great. Say, if mankind and the jinn gathered in order to produce the like of this Quran, they could not produce the like of it, even if they were to each other assistants. And this is the challenge of Quran ever since. Nobody can produce anything like this book. And really, it's amazing. It is an amazing book. So many tafasir, so many commentaries, so much have been written on it. And it's still coming today. Do we still have scholars in this day and age? Yeah. Right? This Ustad Numan, Dr. Farad are scholars of this day. Did we have scholars 100 years ago? Yes, we did. Maududi and Qutb Shaheed. 100 years before that, Ibn Kathir. 100 years before that, Qurtubi. 100 years before that. There are so many, and people are still writing and teaching and learning. And that's the miracle of this book. There's no other book in this world which is like this. Sometimes it feels illogical that I have to lead my life according to a book, like a book. Right? It's not physical human being. Right? How can a book guide me? It cannot talk to me, right? But this happens with the book. Miracles happen with this book. You open it, you read it, you feel like, whoa, that's the answer. There's nothing in the world like this book. Seriously. Wallahi, it's amazing. It is truly a miracle. You sometimes wonder, why did Allah choose a book to be the last miracle on this earth? Right? Why a book? Why not something else? Something more miraculous and magical. He called it a book because this is the book that changes every kind of person. Somebody who wants magical and miracles, it's right here. Somebody who's too logical mindset, there are all kinds of people, it's right here. Somebody who's a very practical person, it's right here. Somebody who's a very emotional person, it's right here. Whatever I have, Shakila, it's right here. And it will satisfy me. And if if mankind and the jinn gathered in order to produce the like of this Quran, they could not produce the like of it, even if they were to each other assistants. And we have certainly diversified for the people in this Quran from every kind of example, but most of the people refuse. Most of the people will refuse. So when it comes to this book, sisters, we cannot see what everybody is doing. Most of the people, and this has been mentioned so many times, most of the people will not believe, most of the people will refuse, most of the people will not follow it, right? And I cannot follow most of the people in this world. And they say, we will not believe you until you break open for us the ground a spring, right? The miracles that the Mushrikeen of Makkah used to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or until you have a garden of palm trees and grapes and make rivers gush forth within them in force and abundance. Or you make the heaven fall upon us in fragments as you have claimed. Or you bring Allah and the angels before us. Or you have a house of ornament that is gold. Or you ascend onto the sky. And even then we will not believe in your ascension until you bring down to us a book we may read. Say, Subhana Rabbi, hal kuntu illa bashara rasula. Say, exalted is my Lord, was I ever but a human messenger? Because the Mushrikeen of Makkah used to say that. Why isn't Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam like a very wealthy, influential person? Why is he so humble, and not very wealthy? They used to say that. And then they would ask for miracles. Do this, do this, do this. Even if we would have done that, they would not have believed. And what prevented the people from believing when guidance came to them, except that they said, has Allah sent a human messenger? Say, if there were upon the earth angels walking securely, we would have sent down to them from the heaven an angel as a messenger. If you and I were angels, then Allah would send down angel as a messenger. But we're human beings, so of course a human being came down as a messenger. قل say كفى بالله شهيدا شهيدا بيني وبينكم إنه كان بعباده خبيرا بصيرا. Say, sufficient is Allah as witness between me and you. Indeed, He is ever concerning His servants aware and seeing. And whoever Allah guides, He is the rightly guided. And whoever He sends astray, you will never find for them protectors besides Him. And we will gather them on the day of resurrection, fallen on their faces, blind, dumb, and deaf. Their refuge is hell. Every time it subsides, we increase for them the blazing fire. Subhanallah, may Allah guide us. Because those who are not guided, they are going to be raised up blind, deaf, dumb, and their refuge is hellfire. That is their recompense because they disbelieved in our verses and said, when we are bones and crumbled particles, will we truly be resurrected in a new creation? Do they not see that Allah who created the heavens and the earth is the one able to create the likes of them? So if Allah can create something as big as the heavens and the earth, what about me and you? We're tiny. We're dwarfs, not even dwarfs as compared to the heavens and the earth. And He has appointed for them a term about which there is no doubt, but the wrongdoers refuse, accept as believe. Say to them, if you possessed all the treasures of the mercy of my Lord, then you would withhold out of fear of spending, and ever man has been stingy. And this is how human beings are, no matter how much we have. And generally I've noticed the more money people have, the stingier they get. I've noticed some people that they were at a certain level of wealth and they were okay in spending, and then when they have more and more, they get stingy and stingy. وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لِشَدِيدٍ. In the love of this wealth, the man is very intense in the love of wealth. And we have this, people have it. May Allah protect us from being stingy, inshallah. And we had certainly given Moses 9 evident signs to ask the children of Israel when he came to them. And Pharaoh said to him, indeed, I think, O Musa, that you are affected by magic. Musa said, you have already known that none has sent down these signs except the Lord of the heavens and the earth as evidence. And indeed, I think, O Pharaoh, that you are destroyed. So he intended to drive them from the land, but we drowned him, and those with him all together. And we said after him, that is Pharaoh, to the children of Israel, dwell in the land, and when there comes the promise, that is the appointment of the hereafter, we will bring you forth in one gathering. And with the truth we have sent it, that is the Quran. We have sent it down, and with the truth it has descended. And we have not sent you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as a bringer of good tidings and a warner. And it is a Quran which we have separated by intervals, that you might recite it to the people over a prolonged period. And we have sent it down progressively. وَنَزَّلْنَاهُ تَنزِيلًا. Nazala is an act that something is coming down from above, and then it comes down slowly, gradually, piece by piece. So Quran was sent down piecemeal, right? It took 23 years to send down these almost 6,000 verses, right? 23 years, that's a lot of days. 23 multiplied by 365, right? That's a lot of days. And almost 6,000 ayahs came because it was coming down naturally. Things were happening, incidences were happening. Rasulullah was growing as a man, as a spiritual man, as a physical man, right? And these things were coming. It was coming down gradually, piecemeal, piece by piece by piece. Say, believe in it or do not believe. Indeed, those who were given knowledge before it, when it is recited to them, they fall upon their faces in prostration. And they say, exalted is our Lord. Indeed, the promise of our Lord has been fulfilled. And they fall upon their faces weeping, and it is, that is the Quran, increases them in humble submission. And Quran should be like that. Sometimes we should read it, we should listen to it, and you want to do sajda. You know how they say the sajda of shukr, that when something happens, and this happens if, for example, you've been asking for something for a very long time and then it comes to you, and you just naturally feel, okay, I want to do sajda. Or somebody has been after you for something or blaming you for something, and then a proof comes that you were right. And then you say, God, I want to do sajda. It sometimes happens with Quran as well. If you're reading it, it answers you, it resolves some problem, some issue, and you say, oh God, I want to fall for sajda. And that's why we have the sajda of tilawa. It comes in ayah number 109. I didn't recite the Arabic, because if we had, then we should have done sajda here. Say, call upon Allah or call upon the most merciful, whichever name you call. To Him belong the best names. Wallahul Asma'ul Husna. And do not recite too loudly in your prayer or too quietly, but seek between that an intermediate way. And this is how we should be reciting our salah. When the Prophet ﷺ used to recite in salah in Kaaba, he would do it loudly, and people around him were getting mesmerized. And there were some who were growing more in hatred. And so some people were mesmerized by how listened to the recitation of Rasulullah, and some people hated it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do not recite too loudly and don't do too quietly, but seek between an intermediate way. That is why when we are reciting in our salah, we should try to do it like Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. Like, you know, like lower your voice, higher your voice a little bit, but not like completely loud and not like completely quietly. We usually do it completely quietly, at least in the South Asian culture. We do it just super quietly, right? But that's when we lose the focus. If we have a little bit of sound to it, then we are able to focus more, right? Rasulullah went by Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and he heard him reciting quietly. And Rasulullah asked him, Abu Bakr, why are you reciting so quietly? He said, because I'm reciting to the one who can hear everything. So his recitations were not that loud. And then he went to Umar radiallahu anhu, and Umar radiallahu anhu was reciting loudly. And he said, Umar, why are you doing it loud? He said, because I'm making the shaitan hear this. That's the personality. That was Abu Bakr and that was Umar. Right? That's how they were. And they say that when Umar would cross a path, shaitan would go away from it. Imagine the strength of that man. And he said, I'm going to mislead everybody. I'm going to come from them from the back, from the front, from the front, from the back, from the left, from the right, from everywhere. And this is a man who's crossing a path and shaitan is running away from it. He's scared of Umar bin Khattab. That's how strong he was. Right? Subhanallah. May Allah. We can't reach that level of iman. We want to, right? But the interesting thing about the Sahaba is that you can match your personality with like one or two of them. Oh, I'm like that. And that's the beauty of the Sahaba. Everybody was different. Abu Bakr was different, Uthman was different, Ali was different, Umar was different, Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas was different, Huzaifa bin Yaman was different. Huzaifa bin Yaman, that's the person whom I had forgotten the name, the one whom Rasulullah gave the list of the hypocrites. That was Huzaifa bin Yaman. And when, at the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu, when the Quran was being compiled, and there was one ayah in the Quran, and the criteria of compiling the Quran was that for every ayah there were supposed to be two witnesses, that they would come and they would say, yes, we saw Rasulullah reciting it, this is how it was recited, and this is, where it was. And so basically two witnesses for each ayah that's how they were compiling the entire Quran, right? So then there was one ayah for which there was no witness, nobody's coming up. And then finally Huzaifa bin Yaman came, and Rasulullah, because he was called Aminul Ummah, the one who is the Amin of this Ummah, and that is why he'd given him the name of the hypocrites. So Rasulullah had said that his witnesses count as two. So for that ayah, Huzaifa bin Yaman came, and he said, I witness. Subhanallah, right? Innahu lahu lahafizun. Allah is the one who's guarding this book. There's interesting stories out there, how this Quran was compiled, and this is why we should read about the Sahaba. Right? Each had their personality. Each had their negative things, because they were human beings. We read about Khalid bin Walid. There was somebody who was telling me something bad about Khalid bin Walid. I was like, forget it. He was Saifullah, the sword of Allah. I mean, who wouldn't want that title? Whatever battle he fought, he would win. So much so that Umar bin Khattab pulled him out of the ranks of the army. He said, because this is ruining people's aqeedah. People are saying the battles are being won because of Khalid and not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he pulled him out. Imagine. This is Khalid bin Walid. So if he messed up in something, well, whatever he did. And we don't even know. That's why we should be very careful in reading Islamic history, because a lot has been written. History is written by human beings. And whenever we read a book of history, the writer, the author affects the way he presents history. Right? So be very careful in reading the history. We should read about these companions. Right? What's that book? I think it's they're 2-part series. I'll give you the name, inshallah, and I have it. Just read those. There are 2 books on the companions of the Prophet. Right? It's in English. It's in English. It was published in UK. That's what I've noticed. The quality of books in UK are better than in other parts of the world, including this place. But read about the Sahaba. Right? There's so much things that were going on. We're so away from our history. Right? We don't relate to this book. This is not alive for me, because I'm so much away from it. Right? So we got to read history. We got to read the life of the Sahaba. We got to read Seerah. Right? So we can be more involved in this book. This can make more sense naturally if we know history. Inshallah.
There's 2 series on YouTube. One is about the Seerah of the Prophet by Yasir Qadi.
Oh, okay.
And then there's another really good one. It's called the Omar series. It's like BBC.
It's very good.
It's Arabic.
It's Arabic.
I like English translation. It's really good.
Very good. Very good series. and say, praise to Allah who has not taken a son, and has no partner in his dominion, and has no need of a protector out of weakness, and glorify him with great glorification. So the people of the past, they called it Ayatul Izz, and they would teach it to their children when they started talking. Imagine this entire ayah. وَقُلِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ الَّذِي لَمْ يَتَّخِذْ وَلَدًا وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ شَرِيكٌ فِي الْمُلْكِ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ وَلِيٌّ مِنَ الذُّلِّ وَكَبِّرَةٌ تَكْبِيرًا. كَبِّرَةٌ تَكْبِيرًا. And they would teach it to their children. It's such a long ayah when they started talking. Suratul Kahf. All right. What a day to begin Suratul Kahf. Right? It's Friday. We're supposed to recite it, inshallah. If we can recite the entire surah, that's wonderful. If not, then first 10 and last 10 ayahs. Anytime before Asr, the time begins from Thursday Maghrib until the Maghrib of today. Right? Because the night comes before the day for us to follow the lunar calendar Islamically. So even Maghrib night, and I used to struggle a lot. I would just not get to it to recite this. And then SubhanAllah, Sa'ad Numan shared this with us. He said, I recite, because he was facing the same thing. And he said, I started reciting it on Thursday night. And then I had it. Right? And so I started doing it. And ever since I do that, so I do it Thursday night. Right? Isha, before I go to sleep, I just do Kahf. And it gets done. And when Friday starts, this time just goes by because you're already in that Friday mode. Jumu'ah, and you're taking showers and getting kids ready and blah, blah. And then the time just passes by. So Salah is there. Right? So inshallah, if anybody is struggling, if you can do it Friday, that's wonderful. But if you can't and you're struggling with it, as I did, the thing that made me really help me was I just do it Thursday night. Right? Cutting nails. I would never cut my nails on Friday. I would just, it's written in my house, the rule, Fridays cut nails. And then on Saturday we're looking like big nails. Or Friday passed by. And this is time management. Whatever something you have to do it before. Something has to be done at a certain particular time, do it before. Right? So cut the nails Thursday. Although they say before, after Maghrib you shouldn't cut nails, but that's because it was dark in those times. So they would hurt themselves. But basically, inshallah, and recitation of Kahf every Friday is a means of strength. It's because this surah is a very strong surah. The main theme of the surah is why do we recite on Friday? Do you remember the hadith that says recite Surah Kahf on Friday? Why do we do it?
It has a light from this week.
It is a means of protection from Dajjal. That's the main reason. It's a means of protection from whoever recites Kahf on Friday will be protected by the fitna of Dajjal. Right? The fitna of Dajjal has already started. Okay, they haven't come as yet, but it has already started. And what's the fitna of Dajjal? We are living in a capitalistic society. Materialism, capitalism, money. That's the fitna of Dajjal. They're leading this entire society on this basis. Interest. What is it? Money. Money making. Right? Taking money from other people. And unfortunately Muslims are in it too. All of us. Remember Shaitan said, take it from their wealth and children. They go there. This is what Muslims are also doing. Surah Kahf. Alhamdulillah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahilladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitaba wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja. All praise is due to Allah, who has sent down upon His servants, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the book, and has not made therein any deviance. It's a perfect, straight book. He has made it straight, to warn of severe punishment from Him, and to give good tidings to the believers who do righteous deeds, that they will have a good reward, that is paradise, in which they will remain forever, and to warn those who say, Allah has taken His son. They have no knowledge of it, nor had their fathers. Grave is the word that comes out of their mouths. They speak not except a lie. فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ إِن لَّمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ أَسَفًا. Then perhaps you would kill yourself through grief over them, O Muhammad, if they do not believe in this message out of sorrow. This is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You will kill yourself with grief. They were not believing. They were disbelievers. Imagine Abu Jahl and Rasulullah crying for Abu Jahl. That's how he was. Allah is saying you will kill yourself with grief because they're not believing. So Abu Lahab, Utbah, Shayba, Walid bin Mughira. Imagine Rasulullah crying for them. That's how sincere he was. And then how do we view the non-Muslims around us? How do we deal with them? How much do I cry for them? How much do I feel for them? Right? I'm just comfortable in my life, my wealth, my children, that's it. I got to do something for these people. This is what Rasulullah was. Right? Just because somebody is a disbeliever doesn't mean that I dissociate myself with them. I have to do something. So especially living in this country, I know some people who say, and I don't agree to it, but they say the only reason you can live in a non-Muslim country is if you're doing da'wah work. Otherwise, there's no reason for you to be here. Because you're putting your iman at risk, right? Because everything around is, of course, taking you away from your iman. So you shouldn't be living in a non-Islamic country. However, geographically, I don't know, I'm not sure if we can name countries as Islamic, Muslim, or non-Muslim. There are Muslim majority countries and there are Muslim minority countries, because we see in many Muslim majority countries as they have no Islam. They have no Islam, right? We see that a lot too. However, this is Rasulullah. His sincerity made him, Allah is saying that you would probably kill yourself with grief over them not believing, right? So we should have not even an ounce or some level, some subatomic level of sincerity in my heart for the disbelievers, because this is a sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
It's really bad because even like Christians, they go door to door and they do so much stuff. Yeah. We don't even do that.
We don't do nothing. We're busy cooking food. Yeah, really. Shopping. Going to the mall is my best. Boy, there's so much to be done. Subhanallah. Indeed, we have made that which is on the earth adornment, for that we may test them. Inna ja'alna ma 'ala al-ardi zinatan laha linabluwahum ayyuhum ahsanu amala. So we may test them as to which of them is best indeed. Ayah number 7 is exactly like kind of saying the same thing as in Surah Al-Mulk, which we're supposed to recite every night before sleeping. Alladhi khalaqal mauta wal hayata liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala. Here it says linabluwahum ayyuhum ahsanu amala. Right, best of the deeds. In Surah Mulk, life and death has been given to you to test you which of you is best in deeds. Here Allah is saying whatever is on the earth is beautiful, is an adornment. So life of this world will attract you. But the reason we have given it to you, to see you which one of you is the best in deeds. So not just in deeds, but the best in deeds. Right? So here the standard is not just of quantity, it's not just of existence of deeds, it's about quality of deeds, the best in deeds. And indeed we will make that which is upon it into a barren ground. That is, when the day of resurrection comes, everything will finish. Or have you thought that the companions of the cave and the inscription were among our signs a wonder? And now it talks about the people of Kahf. Right? There were some people, people of Kahf. Kahf is basically a cave. They were basically some young men who left their country because there was a king who said that I was a king and you should worship me. And one of them stood up and said, this doesn't make any sense that I should be worshipping him. And when he said that, he left his place where everybody was living and went in a place like a small town or a jungle or something like that. He went and he sat there. Then another man got up and he said, this doesn't make sense. Why am I supposed to worship this king? Right? And he also went and sat with that man. And so 6, 7, 8, whoever, we don't know the exact number, however they were, and they went and they gathered in one place. And when those 6, 7, 8 men gathered in one place, the king just saw that they're the ones who's not worshipping me, who don't take me as the God, as the king. He said, so I'm going to finish you off, all of you. I will, finish you. If either you can choose that I'm going to finish you, or you come back to worshipping me as a king. So they ran away. They ran away and they found refuge in a cave. And they went inside the cave to find refuge. And so basically, they didn't want to go back to what the king was saying, and they didn't want to die. So they wanted to protect themselves. They wanted to protect themselves, their lives physically, and they wanted to protect their faith. And this is the story that comes in this surah, Surah Kahf. It is the story, majorly, it talks about all other stories as well, but it talks about the story of those men who protected themselves and their faith, and they left the entire society. Mention when the youth retreated to the cave and said, our Lord, grant us from yourself mercy and prepare for us from our affairs right guidance. And it's a very good dua. Rabbana atina min ladunka rahma wa hayyi lana min amrina rashada. And it can, if there's any confusion in life, any affair that you're facing, make this dua. I with the intention of thinking of that affair, that Allah guide me in this affair. So we cast a cover of sleep over their ears within the cave for a number of years. Then we awakened them that we might show which of the two factions was most precise in calculating what extent they had remained in time. And this is before Isa alayhi salam. This is before Christianity had started. So when they woke up, that's when Christianity had started to come out. And there were still some Christians who were muwahhids. They were Christians, but they worshipped in one Allah when they got up. Before that, there was no Christianity. It is we who relate to you, O Muhammad, their story in truth. Indeed, they were youth who believed in their Lord, and we increased them in guidance. So, because they believed, amanu bi rabbihim wa zidnahum huda. Because they believed, so Allah increased them in their guidance. And we bound, that is, made firm their hearts when they stood up and said, Rabbana, رب السماوات والأرض لن ندعو من دونه إلها لقد قلنا إذا شططا. Our Lord is the Lord of the heavens and the earth. Never will we invoke besides him any deity. We would have certainly spoken then an excessive transgression. So it is said that this person has stood up on the mountain and said, Rabbuna Rabbu Samawati wal Ard. Because the king was saying, I'm the king, I'm the Lord, worship me. And this person stood up on the mountain and said, Rabbuna Rabbu Samawati wal Ard. You're not the Lord, you're not the king. This is the Rabb of the heavens and the earth. And he stood up and said this. And that's when the king said, I'm going to kill you. Either you come back to me as leading me, taking me as a king and as a god, or I'm going to kill you. These are people have taken besides him deities. Why do they not bring for worship of them a clear evidence? And who is more unjust than the one who invents about Allah a lie? The youth said to one another, and when have you withdrawn from them, and that which they worship other than Allah? Retreat to the cave. Your Lord will spread out for you of his mercy, and will prepare for you from your affair facility. So when we do something, when we take a step for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have this confidence that Allah will take care of me. If I've taken a certain step in the way of Allah, have this confidence. Allah will take care of me. My affair will be taken care of by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because I have taken a step. I've taken a stand. And had you been present, you would see the sun when it rose inclining away from their cave on the right, and when it set, passing away from them on the left, while they were lying within an open space thereof. That was from the signs of Allah. He whom Allah guides is then rightly guided, but he whom he sends astray, never will you find for him a protecting guide. So it's a very interesting phenomena how there was a hole in that cave, there was a hole in which sunlight was coming and air would come for them, and Allah would make them turn, right? So they were getting sunlight, they were turning, so no bed sores, right? And this is how we notice so many times in the Quran that Allah could have done anything, just not turn them, give them no sunlight, and he could have made them just sleep and get them up. But there's always a system in which Allah makes a system and he works within that system. So he made them move around, the sun is coming on them, so oxygen is coming, sunlight is coming, air is coming, and they slept. And you would think them awake while they were asleep. And we turned them to the right and to the left, while their dog stretched his forelegs at the entrance. If you had looked at them, you would have turned from them in flight and been filled by them with terror. So it was a sight which was a pretty scary thing. That's what Allah is saying. If you would have looked at them, you would have gotten scared. And I don't know where. So I went to Jordan, and they have the cave of Ashab Kahf there, and they have the graves and everything. And Dr. Farad went to Turkey and saw that too, and she had pictures. And I was like, I saw it in Jordan, and she had pictures in Turkey. So I don't know what's the right place, whether it's Turkey, whether it's Jordan, but they have their graves. So when I went, they had their graves, and they had some artifacts there too. This is the Ashab Kahf. And when she had gone to Turkey and she showed us the pictures, and they had the graves there too. So I don't know where's the true place, whether it's Jordan or it's Turkey. But however. And similarly, we awakened them that they might question one another. So after, and we'll see how many years had passed by, they got up. So finally they're getting up now, right? So one of them is saying, said a speaker from among them, how long have you remained here? Right? For how long have you been sleeping in this cave? They said, we have remained a day or part of the day. They said, your Lord is most knowing of how long you remained. So send one of you with this silver coin of yours to the city, and let him look to which is the best of the food, and bring you provision from it, and let him be cautious, and let no one be aware of you. So they had the money. When you get up, do you feel hungry when you get up? Right? It's natural as a human instinct. So they got up and they said, okay, let's get some food. But just be very, very careful, because they knew they were hiding in the cave for some reason, because the king had said that I'm going to kill you. They said, okay, be super careful. Take this money. And so when this person went out, so imagine, like the currency I'm used to of, somebody coming back and giving like an awkward currency and wearing like really awkward different clothes. And so that's when somebody, and this story was around. Some stories are around in the culture. The story was around in that place that there were some people who had left and they had gone somewhere and they were against the king, and now there's Tawheed. In general, everywhere there is Tawheed around. Right? Because Christianity had started. Isa alayhi salam had come and he had given the message. So the message of Tawheed was there then. Where people had heard their story. So when they came, this person came out with that coin, and imagine with those clothes, and he's asking for food. It's like, whoa! They just put two and two together. This is those men of the cave. And then all of them came out, and this story came out then. They had been sleeping, and then they said they didn't realize they had been sleeping for 300 years. 300 years. Not 1, 2, 3 days or 1 year, 2 years. 300 years. Indeed, if they come to know of you, they will stone you. So he's talking to his friend who's going to go out and get food. Or return you to their religion, and never would you succeed then ever. So they just got up from the sleep, but they're in the same mindset. We can't return back to that religion. That's why we're in this cave. And similarly, we cause them to be found, that they who found them would know that the promise of Allah is truth, and that of the hour there is no doubt. That was when they disputed among themselves about their affair, and then said, and actually then they had a natural death. Then they eventually died. So when they died, naturally it was something. Imagine somebody coming back after 300 years, Allah waking them up. This is a sign. There was a huge sign that Allah can make them sleep and make them up. It's going to happen to me too. So when they died eventually, then people started disputing, okay, what do we do? You know how we have pious people, this thing we have in our heads of pious people, we're going to follow them, we're going to make some monument, it's a memory, right? So people started arguing among themselves about their affair. One said, construct over them a structure. Their Lord is most knowing about them. Said those who prevailed in the matter, we will surely take for ourselves over them a masjid. Somebody said build a structure, somebody said build a masjid. So they were arguing about this. They, that is the people, will say, there were three. Some of them said they were three, the fourth of them being their dog. They will say there were five, the sixth of them being their dog, guessing at the unseen. And they will say there were seven, and the eighth of them was their dog. Say, O Muhammad, my Lord is most knowing of their number. None knows them except a few. Because that's not the point. It's not there were 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. That's not the point of the story. So do not argue about them, except with an obvious argument, and do not inquire about them among the speculators from anyone. So basically, don't discuss these issues. They were 3 or 4 or 5, or even where they are. Like, we don't know if it's Jordan or it's Turkey. It's okay. Doesn't matter. The story is here and it's alive. And never say of anything, indeed, I will do that tomorrow. Because what had happened was that the people of Makkah had come to Rasulullah. They had gone to the Jews. They did before that as well, asking Rasulullah about something to prove that is he a real prophet or not. They had went to the Jews to ask, like, what should we ask Rasulullah? How do we know he's a prophet if he's saying? So the Jews said, ask him about the story of the people of cave. Right? He should be knowing it. This is the story in the previous scriptures as well. So when they went to Rasulullah and asked, do you know about the story of the cave? Rasulullah said, I'll tell you tomorrow. And he didn't say inshallah. Because he expected that I'm going to give the story, Allah will reveal it to me and I will tell it to them. So he said, okay, I will tell you the answer tomorrow. And the revelation didn't come. Now imagine this. Mushrikeen of Makkah are already there at the verge to disbelieve him. They're asking him a question. And Rasulullah wants to answer them, to make them believe that, see, I know the answer because Allah told it to me, and the revelation is not coming. And this is Rasulullah. This is Allah teaching him. Right? Because if Allah was there, of course Allah supported him. But it was still within a system. It was still within a system. We were supposed to say, inshallah. Nothing will happen besides the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with Rasulullah, it was a tough case. He couldn't make any small mistake either. Right? The poor guy, he's there waiting for revelation to come so I can respond back to these people, and it's not coming. Right? And then this came. And never say of anything, indeed, I will do that tomorrow, except when adding, if Allah wills. Ansha yasha Allah. And remember your Lord when you forget it and say, perhaps my Lord will guide me to what is nearer than this to the right conduct. And they remained in their cave for 300 years and exceeded by 9. Because there's a difference between lunar and solar calculation. So if we do lunar, then it's 309 years. Say, Allah is most knowing of how long they remained. He has the knowledge of the unseen, of the heavens and the earth. How seeing is He, and how hearing. They have not besides Him any protector, and He shares not His legislation with anyone. وَاتْلُ مَا أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ مِنْ كِتَابِ رَبِّكَ لَا مُبَدِّلَ لِكَلِمَاتِهِ وَلَنْ تَجِدَ مِنْ دُونِهِ مُلْتَحَدًا. And recite, O Muhammad, what has been revealed to you of the book of your Lord. There is no changer of his word, and never will you find in other than him a refuge. And keep yourself patient by being with those who call upon their Lord in the morning and in the evening, seeking his pleasure, his face, his acceptance. And let not your eyes pass beyond them, desiring adornment of the worldly life. And do not obey whose heart we have made heedless of our remembrance, and who follow his desire, and whose affair is ever in negligent. Basically, Rasulullah is being asked who to follow, who not to follow. Right? Somebody who's following his desires, don't follow them. Right? Somebody who doesn't remember the hereafter, don't be with them. And say, the truth is from your Lord. So whoever wills, let him believe, and whoever wills, let him disbelieve. Indeed, we have prepared for the wrongdoers a fire, whose walls will surround them. If they call for relief, they will be relieved with water like murky oil, which scalds their faces. Wretched is the drink, and evil is the resting place. Indeed, those who believed and done righteous deeds, indeed we will not allow to be lost the reward of any who did well in deeds. Those will have gardens of perpetual residence. Beneath them rivers flow. They will be adorned therein with bracelets of gold, and will wear green garments of fine silk and brocade, reclining therein on adorned couches. Excellent is the reward, and good is the resting place. And then another example come, and present to them an example of two men. We granted to one of them 2 gardens of grapevines, and we bordered them with palm trees, and placed between them fields of crops. Each of the 2 gardens produces fruits, and did not fall short thereof in anything, and we caused to gush forth within them a river. Right? This is a person of one garden who has so much crops and garden and grapevine and palm trees. And he had fruit, so he said to his companion while he was conversing with him, I am greater than you in wealth, and mightier in number of men. And he entered his garden while he was unjust to himself, because he's saying, I am good. I have it because I am good. He said, I don't think that this will perish ever. This will with me forever. And I don't think the hour will occur. And even if I should be brought back to my Lord, I will surely find better than this as a return. His companion said to him, while he was conversing with him, have you disbelieved in he who created you from dust, and then from a sperm drop, and then proportioned you as a man? As for me, he is Allah, my Lord, and I don't associate with my Lord anyone. And why did you, when you entered your garden, not say what Allah willed has occurred? There is no power except in Allah. Although you see me less than you in wealth and children, it may be that my Lord will give me something better than your garden, and will send upon it a disastrous penalty from the sky, and it will become a smooth, dusty ground. Or its water will become sunken into the earth, so you would never be able to seek it. And his fruits were encompassed by ruin. So he began to turn his hands about in dismay over what he had spent on it, while it had collapsed upon its trellises, and said, Oh, I wish I had not associated with my Lord anyone. And there was for him no company to aid him other than Allah, nor could he defend himself. Right? So 2 examples of somebody who has lots of wealth and associated everything to himself, and the other person does not have a lot of wealth but believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah took away everything from that wealthy person, and at the end he was left with nothing. And at that time he regretted, oh, I should not have associated. I should not have done shirk. I should not have had pride. There, the authority is completely for Allah, the truth. He is best in reward and best in outcome. And present to them the example of the life of this world is like a rain which we send down from the sky, and the vegetation of the earth mingles with it, and then it becomes dry remnants scattered by the wind. Allah is ever over all things perfect. Wealth and children are but the adornment of the worldly life, but the enduring good deeds are better by your Lord, for reward, and better for everyone's hope. Subhanallah. This ayah, it says that wealth and children are but the adornment of the worldly life, but the enduring good deeds are better to your Lord. So what do I have to try about my kids if the wealth and the children are the adornment of the worldly life? And what's gonna rest, wal baqiyatu salihat, is something which is with my Lord. So what can I do with my wealth and my children? What can I do with it to make it last? Right? Channelize to the right portion. Abu Huraira said, when a person is dead, his deeds are ceased except from 3. Number 1, deeds of continuous sadaqah, act of charity, an orphan home, a well-for-giving water, building mosques, libraries, right? Something of continuous charity. B, knowledge with which mankind benefits, a thing of knowledge, ilm. C, a righteous pious son or daughter who begs Allah to forgive his or her parents. These are the 3 things that sadaqah jariyah. So this is where you and I have to use my wealth and children. That's the focus of my wealth and children, right? Because these are the 3 things that will continue, inshallah. So that is why I gotta work at my kids, inshallah, to make them a sadaqah jariyah for me. And these are the kids who beg to Allah to forgive his or her parents. Sometimes we say, okay, whatever good they do, it comes back to me. Sure, that's right, inshallah. But the main thing is, these kids are making dua for their parents. This is what I have to do. So that means what? What does that mean? I am just focused at my kids doing good? Focus at what? How will I make them make dua for me? Because they're supposed to make dua. A righteous, pure son, pious son, righteous son, he has to do good, pious son or daughter, who begs Allah to forgive his or her parents. The main thing is they make dua for me. We just focus on they doing good and I will get that. And that is why I put them in all the classes and halakas and all of that, right? So they do good. The main thing is they have to make dua for me. How will they make dua for me? If they love me. If they don't love me, then they're not gonna make dua for me. So I gotta, as I love them, they have to love me. So inshallah, I have to do my tarbiyah and discipline with love. If I love them, they hopefully can love me back. If they love me back, they will remember me in their du'as. I'm just focused at their doing good. Right? Yes, they gotta do good. They have to be pious. They have to be righteous. But the main thing is the dua that they will make for me.
I'm asking this too early, but how do you tell them, like, to make dua for you?
Straight tell them,
tell them,
I'm gonna die and you have to remember me in their dua. I'm gonna come in your dreams and really scold you. I tell it to my kids. When I die, if I die, you gotta remember me. Put a note. I put notes here and there. They put a note for me. You have to remember me in your duas. Right? And we should do it for our kids. Spiritually speaking, we should do it for our parents. If any of us have a deceased parent, and even if they're not deceased, they're alive, we should make dua for them. So inshallah, what goes around comes back. If we make dua for our parents, if we're kind to them, inshallah, it will come back to us too. Right? And inshallah, remind the kids. Definitely remind the kids. And present to them what we're just finishing, inshallah, 2 pages. And the authority is completely for Allah. No. Yeah. Ayah number 46. Wealth and children are but adornment of the worldly life, but the enduring good deeds are better to your Lord, for reward and better for one's hope. And warn of the day when we will remove the mountains, and you will see the earth exposed, and we will gather them, and not leave behind from them anyone. And they will be presented before your Lord in rows. And he will say, you have certainly come to us just as we created you the first time, but you claim that we would never make for you an appointment. And the record of deeds will be placed open, and you will see the criminals, fearful of that within it, and they will say, oh, woe to us! What is this book that leaves nothing small or great except that it has enumerated it? And they will find what they did present before them, and your Lord does injustice to no one. And please notice this, is talking about fatar al-mujrimin, those who committed crimes. So it's not talking about mushrikeen. It's not talking about munafiqeen. Right? So it's somebody who has done some crime, something bad. Right? It's not the mushrikeen, it's not the munafiqeen here. You're leaving? Okay, I need 3 minutes or so. Can you wait for 3 minutes, inshallah? I'll just try to finish. Jazakallah khair. Now it's 1:15. Ayah number 49. There's a hadith about this day of resurrection by Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu. The people will sweat so profusely on the day of resurrection that their sweat will sink 70 cubit deep into the earth, and it will rise up till it reaches the people's mouth and ears. So the day people will be standing in front of Allah, we will be sweating so profusely. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be an easy day. And then the book of accountability is getting into my hands. It's going to be super difficult. Super difficult day. Right? And Dajjal is coming before. That's why Surah Kahf is majorly telling me what to protect myself from. People of Kahf, protect your faith. These two stories of the men, protect yourself from the wealth. After giving the example of wealth and all those two men, the ayah of coming about your children and the wealth, they're just the adornment of this life. What's going to stay with you is good deeds. So whereas wealth and children is just the adornment of this world, then I got to use it to make it baqiyatul salihat. Right? And then the story of Adam alayhi salam. It comes for the 5th time. We'll do it inshallah. The time is up. It's just this story. We'll do it tomorrow inshallah. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.